Hi, welcome to Eye Openers. I'm your host, Brittany Drozd, and each week I bring you insightful conversations with entrepreneurs that will help you make more money, become a strong leader, and build a business culture that you're proud of. Grab your coffee and let's dive in. Hi, and welcome to Eye Openers. Thank you guys so much for joining us today, because without you, I would kind of just be talking to myself. I kind of do that anyway sometimes, but it's more fun when the audience is here because we love to have your questions along the way. And really, these eye-opening insights that we're going to uncover here are for you to take, implement into your business and improve the way that you lead, the way that you run your business, and ultimately live your life. So thank you so much for being here with me, Justin. How are you?
I'm very excited to be here, and I'm very excited to talk about Kolbe and all sorts of other fun things.
Awesome. What's a brief intro to what Kolbe is and those numbers down there by your name?
Yep. So it's not your personality, it's how your brain takes action. Most visionaries are very high quick start, boom, 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 and little to no follow through. So I am high quick start and high follow through, which is very rare.
Okay, cool. So we'll get into how different people's brains work and what things are optimal for what different types of roles you might have in an organization. And maybe we'll even talk about our own numbers and where our strengths are and maybe where our challenges are. But first, before we do anything like that, I want to talk about what you're drinking. Because here at Eye Openers, we don't just rely on our smarts for insights. We need some caffeine.
Lots of caffeine. I think this is my fourth cup of coffee today. Yeah, well, we have an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old, both boys. They're both 9 quick starts in Kolbe. And then my wife is stabilizing human 8742 pediatrician. And our first date was the day before she started medical school, 2004. So she introduced me to coffee then. And I've been drinking coffee for the last almost 20 years now. So.
Okay. And so how do you like your coffee? I feel like, we might rely on Kolbe to tell you how your brain works, but I rely on how you prep your coffee. It's very specific.
Almost 100% of the time, it's pure black. I do in the mornings start my day with that. It's that brain oil, the bulletproof brain oil.
Oh, yes. I love bulletproof coffee.
And then
MCT oil,
correct. So that's in the morning, and then it just stays black most of the day. If I go out to dinner with family or friends, then like with dessert, I'll have cream and sugar with the coffee. But more often than not, it's just straight black.
So you'll even do the coffee with dessert. You're that kind of guy.
I'll go right to sleep. Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, and when you're so unless I'm talking to someone changing the world, visionary, or spending time with my family, I get very bored very quickly. So I can just go right to sleep. Like it's not.
Okay. Well, I'll do my best not to bore you then.
Thank you.
Does that, maybe that helps with your follow through, the 4 cups of coffee? Or no, it's just who you are?
Well, like I said, most of the people I talk to, they're high quick start and little to no follow through. They're all over the place. And I have high quick start and high follow through. So I don't think it has anything to do with coffee, or I just think that's how your brain takes action.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So the only thing I write down before I meet someone is their name and their Kolbe score, because I immediately know who I'm talking
to. Okay. Well, guys, it is the afternoon here for me when we're recording this. So I have already completed my coffee. I have these very strict kind of health rules for me, and I don't do coffee after 12 p.m. So I've got my ginger turmeric tea, which if you've ever had ginger and turmeric together, it's plenty eye-opening. So this will not disappoint. Let's talk about who you are and why people should actually be paying attention today and not just this guy with this funny number theory. Justin is the founder and CEO of a global PR firm called, do you call it BR Epic? Re-Epic?
Repic, yeah.
Repic, okay. And your exclusive connectivity platform, the Brepic Network. Your newest book, Epic Life, features a foreword from Dr. Peter Diamandis and has been the #1 overall book for sales on Amazon Kindle. That is amazing. It also recently made the Wall Street Journal and USA Today bestseller list. So congratulations. You are a very accomplished author.
Thank you.
We don't take enough time to celebrate. You don't look very celebratory, but I'm celebrating you right now.
One of the chapters in my first book is take time to celebrate your successes. And I am very down the middle with my emotions. So I don't get too low and I don't get too high, but I do enjoy and throw a lot of, certainly pre-COVID, used to throw a lot of parties, not as many anymore, but no, I'm constantly celebrating with my family. It's just like, this is how I show celebration.
Well, I'm glad to hear you're celebrating there somewhere. A lot of people, this is just beyond them, how people get projects out like this, just doing, writing a book. What's your secret?
I don't talk to business owners, consultants, humans. All I do is talk to top entrepreneurs on planet. That's my whole day, and then spending time with my family. So the difference between entrepreneurs and humans, consultants, business owners is I haven't met one entrepreneur at the highest level that hasn't overcome at least one of the following four things. Most are two or three. And then I talked to a lot of all four. So the four things are bankruptcy or potential bankruptcy, 2, depression, 3, the highest level of anxiety that you can imagine, and 4, likely and or possible traumatic experiences as a child or young adult. You just do it. So I just connect people like that to people like that. Otherwise I get bored. And then people like that allow me to spend time with my family because they actually take action, make investment. So there's no pie in the sky. They just actually do it.
I like that. Okay. So you see that as, hey, anybody who approaches life and follows through with that, hey, just do it. Like, regardless of it, if they have their own company or not, you might identify somebody as an entrepreneur because they have that, hey, just do it attitude.
I like how your brain thinks of things in that way. I was an intrapreneur for 20 years as a journalist. I was an entrepreneur who happened to be a journalist, so I didn't even know this world existed. I think you're correct. I just spend my time only talking to entrepreneurs. I don't talk to entrepreneurs or consultants. It's just all people changing the world. That's my whole day.
Well, so I read your brief bio, right? But give us a few bullet points. How did you go from journalism to where you are today?
Well, so most people, that's what separates entrepreneurs from everyone else. They just do it, right? So journalist for 20 years, February 10th, 2017, had job salary cut in half. Tried to find a job, couldn't find a job. Incorporated April 16th, 2017. And that was 6 days after turning 40 with zero business background. Over the next 6 weeks, while working full time at half salary, I reached out to 5,000 people to find first 5 clients. So found fifth client, June 1st, resigned June 2nd. And then Robert Feeder, he at the time was the top media columnist in Chicago, Midwest. He's retired, but he did a story at Start Man for on June 5th. So that was just the start for his company.
Okay. So let's walk me through your thought process.
There's no thought, but you do it. You just execute. So So my dad was 61 when I was born, 61. He was shot down multiple times in combat in World War II, many times without a parachute, got back in the plane. So anyone who makes an excuse, that's not an entrepreneur. That's what's okay. So you're either someone who can get into a plane without a parachute, or you're not. That's entrepreneur life. It's those 4 things. So most people use overthinking to not execute. So true entrepreneur, they just execute.
Tell me, okay, so let's talk about your entrepreneurial journey. So you founded Brepic.
Yeah.
What's in front of you right now? What are you looking at? I love to use this platform and this podcast to help other entrepreneurs see, from your lens. They may be just 2 steps behind you. And it's so great to hear from other people about what their greatest challenges, what they're looking at right now. What do you see on the horizon for Brepic?
I'd say my firm is partnered with maybe 1 out of 1,000. So most people live in scarcity. So they think it's a small number. 1 out of 1,000, if there's 8 billion people, that's 8 million people. So 8 million, there's 8 million folks that actually do something and then they help everyone else. So I just partner with the 0.1%. So the purpose of my life is to be a connecting superhero for every visionary, abundance, investment mindset entrepreneur, not business owner, not human, not consultant, entrepreneur, and share their stories with the world, not their. It's a fundamental difference. So I'm either spending time with my family or doing that, either through global PR firm or newer companies that invite only high price point connectivity platform. for the 0.1%. And my partner, who's based in California, he's the visionary integrator who's building it. I can barely tie my shoes. So I just stay in my zone of genius of connecting people and then spending time with my family.
What do you like to connect with these people about? Okay, so you get this 1 in 1,000 on the phone. What lights you up about it?
My whole day is 5 to 10 of 1 out of 1,000 every day. They're hard to find at first. People like me are usually aliens within their own family, community, and vertical. Only people who understand us are top entrepreneurs on the planet. So it took most of my life to find those people. And I'm like, oh, 2 most insulting questions anyone that can ask me and that a true visionary would never ask. Never. 1 is, what do you do? 2 is, can I pick your brain? And so, and then they never say, what do you want to talk about? We just start talking. I will say that I usually bring up Kolbe. Most of those folks know, and again, most of them are 8, 9, 10 quick starts with like 1, 2, or 3 follow through. There are exceptions to that. Most of them are very high quick start, low follow. Okay. And then we talk about family or what they're up to. Very rarely ever talk about business. Very rarely.
So if you and I were to speak 3 years from now, what would you be telling me about that you were thrilled to share?
What I know is, regardless if it's 3 years or 5 years or 10 years, is that there are only 2 things that I focus on in terms of a 10X mindset. So 1 is experiencing life with my family. When you have a good family life, you have a good life. I have never met anyone, regardless of if they're a visionary wackadoo like me or human or whatever. And if they've had a good family life, they haven't had a good life. I have not met that person yet. If you know someone who has a good family life that has not had a good life, I would like to meet that person. Okay. And then the second is network on a global level. When you do that, you create endless opportunities for your network and yourself. So I've found that all this other business owner stuff, it's kind of taking care of itself. So 3 years from now, I'll have a lot of great experiences with my family, and then network will be even greater than it is now. Excellent.
What qualifies as a great experience with your family? Like, what do you guys love to do? What love?
So I took my sons are 8 and 10. We went on a baseball trip last year, 5 games in 5 days, 5 different cities. And so we'll be doing that this year. We're going to Hawaii later this year. I'm going to Abundance 360. Top entrepreneurs in the world go to that. And then when my kids are a little older, I'll be taking them to that as well. But, I was thinking about it. The best experience I had all of last year, and there were a lot of amazing things, but it was just driving around with my wife and children, just looking at Christmas lights and singing Christmas songs. I enjoy that far more than, traveling somewhere to talk about 9-figure, 10-figure business. I just like hanging out with my family.
I love that, because I think it takes a real tuned in person to understand that even if you solve really complex problems as an entrepreneur, that some of the best moments you experience at a human level can be more of the simple things. Mundane comes to mind, but it's not mundane. It's just more simplified. And that's also what makes it beautiful. I love how you threw this context of family life. And I also have a family that I invest deeply into, because on my deathbed, that's what I'm going to care the most about, if we're being honest. And so many great visionaries and people at a really successful level aren't able to keep a family intact. And what do you think is happening there? What's that about?
I'm sure your 4-year-old and your 6-year-old appreciate you saying what you just said. And they will, as their lives, matriculate. As my sons, I saw my kids more than any dad I've ever met before COVID started. Now I just see them more. So all this other stuff is great, but without that, it doesn't really matter. So again, those 4 things, entrepreneurs, no excuse, you figure it out. So entrepreneurs, again, not business owners, not consultants, not humans. Entrepreneurs, most damaged people, the most damaged, the best coping skills. I'm not talking about silver spoon. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about starting something. Most damaged, best coping skills. So they have the highest IQ, highest EQ, most guts, most someone like my dad get no plane without a parachute. Most people can't do that. They won't. So that's the people I talk to. All of them would do that. all of them. So many times they use those coping skills to create massive wealth, massive company, massive employee account, massive office space, massive locations, and then certainly not always, but many times at expense of having family, multiple divorces, torched family, nothing meaningful. So the most miserable people I know is they have all this stuff, but they don't have anything meaningful. So I'm just a dad who happens to be an entrepreneur and would never let entrepreneur life destroy my family life ever.
So what's missing from the people who get that and the people who light it on fire? What's the distinction?
There's many, but the number one thing that I see is people like me, certainly not always, but many times they marry stabilizing humans. And my wife's a pediatrician. If I hadn't married my wife, I definitely would have been one of those other people. But my wife said, you have to say thank you to people. You have to pick your children up at school. Don't say anything at parent-teacher conferences because that could go horribly wrong. Just imagine me talking like this at parent-teacher. I mean, just think about that. So that would not go like with your 4-year-old or 6-year-old at a first grade or preschool parent-teacher conference. It would not be good.
Yeah, no, it's enough work for me right now.
Yeah, right. My wife just says, don't say anything. So that's what I see more often than not. I was talking to a group about mental health awareness and anxiety with entrepreneurs, very high level. What's the number one ingredient? What do you think? I'm like, well, marry a stabilizing human. That'd be the number one suggestion.
Right.
Marry the opposite of
you.
Yeah. And again, like seek what you need to heal. But for those that don't or can't or it just doesn't happen that way, one of the chapters in the new book is called Winning the Wrong Game. So that the number, these are very smart people. So you can ask yourself, what game are you winning? What game do you actually want to win? And does it revolve around material things or does it revolve around meaningful? And for me, I've learned that material things do not make me any happier, but meaningful things do.
Right. What a great point. Thanks for tying it into your book. That gives people a great tool to reference there. Let's talk about Kolbe, because I think, some of this, like you're saying, is stylistic or specific to the person or the way that your brain works. So maybe we can start with your numbers, or you can even use me as an example.
Can use both. And we'll start with numbers that are not either of ours. So a true visionary, there are exceptions, but a true visionary almost always is an 8, 9, or 10 quick start. 10 is the highest. You are a 5, I am a 7. In the way Kolbe looks at things, and then I talked to Gino Wickman about this. He's EOS.
Yeah, love Gino.
I would say he's a good friend of mine at this point. I'm like, why are the only people that partner with my firm's visionaries that are 8, 9, and 10 quick start? And he's like, well, because 8, 9, or 10 are true visionary. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So every now and then a 7 or under like us will become a visionary, but they have to have, and again, this is from Gino and the head of Kolbe, Amy Bresky. They have to have incredibly high IQ and or EQ because they can game the system. Because quick start is if you're risk averse. So an 8, 9, or 10, especially a 9 or 10, they're not really afraid to do anything. They're not afraid to get into a plane without a parachute.
Makes sense.
And then most of those visionaries, they're very low on follow through. So if they don't hire 1 million people, nothing will get done.
Right.
ADHD diagnosed or undiagnosed, not a disorder, sign of genius, but it's mislabeled by humans. Okay. So you have astronomically high follow through for the types of folks I talk to. You're an 8 follow through. I've only met 1 9. You will never meet a 10 follow through. That person's dog chasing its tail, never stop. So you're an 8, and then you're a 5 quick start. So you'll start something, certainly not as faster as a 7, 8, or 9, 10, but you will start it. And then once you actually commit to something, you'll never stop following. You'll be the one that ends the conversation with a follow-up question. You'll make sure you're the last person to speak.
And the shortfall of that is I have to finish every single book that I start.
Well, you just did what you just said there. You had to follow through with what I just said with your input. That's true in life. Okay. Because talk to me is meaningless without it. It's meaningless. Okay. So I am the very, 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 very rare. I've never met anyone else with my score ever, where I have high quick start, boom, 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 high follow through, hit the brakes, and high fact finder. And then the last thing is implementer. That's using your hands to build things. I'd be a 0 or negative 100 at that. Like, I don't know how to hold a pencil right. I can barely. You're a 2 implementer, so you will assemble something. You won't like doing it, but I will get into my car and leave the house to avoid assembling it. I will not.
Yeah.
So
my husband left a new kind of cabinet thing that we were putting together for our shoes. He left it like 70% done, and it was driving me crazy because of the follow through. I was going nuts, right? And so I'm not strong with the woodworking like we just talked about, but I picked it up because my follow through couldn't handle it.
Yeah, because you lead.
It did not do a great job, but it's
but you'll never stop once something's started. It's just getting it started. You never would have started assembling that, but your husband did. And then my wife's a 2. She's a 2 implementer like you, so she'll do it, and then you would be a perfect fit for like a 3-3-9-3 who's all over the place, and then you can follow through for them. You can systematize and then execute for them.
So right now, it might feel to some people watching this like we're speaking a foreign language when we're talking about these numbers. I loved taking the test. So we'll make sure that there's a link to all of that in the show notes. But how can somebody use their score to help them better understand either maybe a type of career or job or passion they should pursue or
everything? Yeah, our sons are 10 and 8. The 10-year-old's a 2296 maniac. Maniac to me is a compliment. And then the 8-year-old's a 3297 maniac. So they don't want to be in school sitting in a cubicle. They want to be outside. The 10-year-old's running 21-minute 5Ks, which that's insane.
Impressive.
And then the 8-year-old jumping in front of soccer balls with his head. He's a great defender. They don't want to be in a classroom. So so if you're someone like that, you're probably high quick start, low follow through, and then high implementer. But again, like my wife's an 8742 stabilizing human, and I'm an 8671 visionary maniac with follow through, which is very, very rare. But like that's, if you're a visionary, you want an integrate, you want someone to follow through for you. And then if you're like a 5555, that's like a perfect employee score because you can kind of do everything.
Do you recommend people use this like in the hiring process or?
Oh God. Yeah. That's what it's really made for. I mean, that's what Kolbe's really made for. I just use it to identify visionaries.
So you ask people to take it before you'll speak with them?
Well, 99% of the folks I talk to now have taken it because in most of my days talking to the world's top entrepreneurs, and then meet a lot of them through strategic coach and then Abundance 360 or most people like that introduced me to people like that. And then almost all of them have taken Kolbe. But if someone hasn't taken it, I ask them, and you're definitely the exception in a good way, but most of the folks, they're like 8, 9, or 10 quick starts.
I feel so lucky that you took the time to speak with me, even though I'm not, technically a real visionary.
Well, your IQ is probably very high and your EQ is as well. And it's a super interesting thing. I'm a lifelong learner and then, I'm fascinated by people's brains. So like in almost 6 years as an entrepreneur, my firmship partnered with one person, only one, that I know of that's less than a 7 quick start. But I'm fascinated to see if years 6 through 10, 10 through 20, that the under 7 quick starts where they make a decision. And then it'll be interesting because then the follow through it'll kick in. So it's like, it's a fascinating journey of life, understanding like how people work, how they tick. I mean, I'll just say the first almost 6 years, it's been all high quick start, almost all high quick start, lower follow. Almost.
How do you, as a parent or, as an entrepreneur, what can people do to build people's coping skills?
Wow. What can you do to build your coping skills? All I do every day is I work on my mindset. And I think what you said is very powerful because I would consider mindset a coping skill. And so The first thing I do every single day, is a grateful journal to my wife, what I'm grateful for her the previous 24 hours. Without her, complete disaster. 6 days a week, 3 to 5 miles a day, run outside no matter the weather. We live in Chicago.
Wow, that's saying something.
So then I listen to shows like these. So you're fueling your mind, heart, lungs, like whatever. And then every Monday through Friday, end day with a grateful journal on LinkedIn. Okay, so all I do is simplify in a pattern. So if you're constantly grateful, it's hard to be ungrateful. Constantly grateful, it's hard to be ungrateful. And that attracts other people that are constantly grateful, and it repels people that make excuses. So I think that's a good way of what you said, which was very powerful, the coping skills. I think building a more powerful mindset, if you're born to be top entrepreneur on planet, is a very powerful coping skill.
Right. But even if you weren't, if people don't have those numbers, I think building a strong mindset and seeing it a growth versus fixed mindset, like this is something you can actually grow,
100%.
a muscle that you can make stronger, will serve you no matter what your numbers are.
Well, right. Of course. I mean, yeah. So the right mindset attracts right network and creates right opportunities. So if you have the right mindset, it attracts, and if your mindset wants to attract middle market managers or small business, that's fine. Great. I just work on my mindset to attract top entrepreneurs on planet, and they create opportunities for me and I create opportunities for them. But what you said is 100% accurate. And then if you have the wrong mindset, it repels right network and creates no opportunities. So
great point. So take your Kolbe, find out your numbers, learn about yourself, have a practice that can help grow and develop your mindset so that you can attract the areas in which you don't have high numbers in, if that's what you need, depending on your business or your life partner or, whatever it may be. So there it is, folks. This is how Kolbe and Justin can change your life.
Well, so you just took my 8671 and you 7852 it. That's it. Well, I talked.
And if you are as lost as I am right now, that's totally fine.
I know you're talking to the audience, but that made perfect sense to me. And then I talked to a 3393 and then.
Justin, how can people find you and what's the best way for them to engage with you?
Oh, thanks. Thank you. My wife taught me how to say thank you. So I really enjoyed that. And your follow through there was great. You just went answer. That was awesome. But if you go to brepicllc.com, BREPICLLC.com, there's a mindset survey scorecard. It takes 5 minutes. People love taking it. And people qualify or disqualify themselves with their own mindset. It's really fascinating.
I love it. Well, I'm going to make sure that all that information is in the show notes for people. Yep. And he's very active on LinkedIn. You might be watching this on LinkedIn right now, but if you're not, I love seeing your gratitude posts. I think that's really cool the way that you do that. And it's a connector piece too, which is really fun to learn about other people in the process. So I can't thank you enough. This has been so fun. This is so different than our other episodes. So I hope you guys have enjoyed. He truly is a unique individual. This is a unique episode. And you guys, until next time, take these eye-opening moments, take these insights that you have gained from today's conversation, put them out into the real world, into your business, into your entrepreneur career, or whatever you need to improve upon. And let us know how it's going. I'd always love to hear from people. Thank you, Justin, so much for being here. And see you guys on the next episode. Thanks for joining us this week on Eye Openers. Make sure to visit BrittanyDrozd.com/podcast for this week's show notes. And if you found value in today's episode, I would so appreciate you giving us a rating on Apple Podcasts or share it with a friend. Also, don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. This all helps to support the show.